What's up, Pirate Nation? This is Hall Talk. I am Ryan Flannery, joined by David Heim and Aaron Ross. Today, we'll be discussing the women's tournament. They are in the WNIT. They just got eliminated, but we will discuss their very successful season under first-year head coach Tony Bozzella. And we will also discuss March Madness. March Madness is in full swing right now. The Sweet 16 is finishing, and the Elite 8 will be underway. So we will discuss our picks and our future picks for the rest of the tournament. Again, this is Hall Talk.
Hello, Pirate Nation. I'm Aaron Ross with this week's Pirate Sports Weekly Rundown. The Red Hot baseball team, coming off of a 3-game sweep of Fairleigh Dickinson, looked to keep up their phenomenal start to the season against St. Peter's yesterday at O&T Carroll Field. The Pirates came out hot and kick-started a game with a 6-run lead just after 2 innings and never looked back from there, finishing with a final score of 13-3 over the Peacocks. The victory put the Pirates at 16-4 overall in the season and was the team's 2,000th win in school history. Even with injuries to key players, graduating seniors, the team has risen above all expectations and is soaring into the ranks of one of the top teams in the nation. The cross-country team opened their spring season up over the weekend with 4 victories at the Stockton Invitational. The weekend was highlighted with victories by Nyla Eddings, Mary Minkton, and Kevin Walsh. It was the Pirates' first competitive outing since late November, and they finished the weekend with a total of 10 top 5 finishes. After a rather slow start to the season, the softball team opened up conference play with a 3-game sweep of Providence, where the bats were rolling and the Lady Pirates showed their dominance. They look to continue the streak in a 3-game series at Villanova over the weekend. As you know, March Madness is in full swing, and when we return, Ryan Flannery, David Heim, and myself will break down everything you need to know for the weekend's games and tournament moving forward. Now that's all for your weekly rundown. I'm Aaron Ross.
Welcome back, Pirate Nation. This is Hall Talk. Once again, I'm joined by David Heim and Aaron Ross for Hall Talk. And guys, we're going to discuss the very successful season under head coach Tony Bozzella. Came from Iona, really wanted to fix this Seton Hall program that was really dreadful last year. Picked dead last in the preseason Big East poll, but lo and behold, they had a great season, over 9 Big East wins, an over 500 record. 20-win season for the first time in almost a decade, and they made it to the Sweet 16 of the WNIT. Now, unfortunately, they did lose to our hated rival, Rutgers, the Scarlet Knights, over in Piscataway last night. I was there. One of the greatest games I have really ever seen, honestly, in person. I mean, I haven't been to a ton of college basketball games for the women, but that was by far the best game I've seen them play. Dee Simmons had a great game, as well as Tabitha Richardson-Smith. I mean, she stepped up huge this year, going from 4 points average to almost 17. So, David, I'll start with you. What do you take out of this women's season for Seton Hall? I mean, the motto was something to prove, and we finished with why not Seton Hall. And I think Tony Bozzella really had everyone believing that in season's end. So go ahead.
Well, without saying it was successful, because successful is such an understatement for this team and this season, it was just amazing to see one man. No one believed in this team. No one, even the girls, like just talking to Bozzella all season, even the girls just coming into the season, down. They lose their head coach. There is excitement that there is a new head coach there, but you don't know, how that's going to work out in the first-year experiment. So no one's believing in this team except for one man, Tony Bozzella, and that was enough. And that's all it took for this team to. They took off on day one and they never looked back. And then to see the fan base and the students jump on that ride with them, and the players bought into the system, and it was like just a train. And Bozzella was the conductor, and there was no stopping.
Yeah, David brings up a good point, Aaron, because, again, this team, picked dead last in the preseason poll. I mean, Tony Bozzella coached an Iona team that played, not really in a conference like the Big East.
Yeah, not really a big team.
Right, and, this team was expected to be really bad this year. I mean, the men's team is where everybody had their chips in the cards, so talk about your reaction, because I know you were surprised as well.
I mean, I was pretty surprised. I mean, like you said, how they're projected to be last. But the way that, I started coming to games even more, because I didn't go to much last year.
Right.
I come in this year. The Walsh Gym, it was filling up. That place was loud. It was bonkers, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the players, they bought into the system. Bozzella brought energy. The players brought even more because of his crazy energy. They just loved it. Everyone, it's just great. He brought it all. I mean, Tabitha Richardson-Smith, exactly, to say the least. I mean, just stepping up from the 4 points to the 17. She's just dropping threes like there's no tomorrow. And Dee Simmons out there just grinding and doing her thing, like especially the Princeton game. That and the Rutgers one, I'd say, are definitely the top 2 games I saw all season. The Princeton one, how she really stepped up, had 17 of her 23 in the second half. The Rutgers game, fantastic. I think they just ran out of gas a little bit at the end, like you said.
Let's talk about the Rutgers game a little bit. Again, they ran out of gas. They lost in double overtime. Had a lot of chances to win it late in the fourth quarter, or second half, I should say, and overtime as well. And I think they just ran out of gas. I think you're right. I think Dee Simmons stepped up huge. Tabitha Richardson-Smith had a really poor first half, and she finished with 23 points. So, those two are really going to be what is going to drive this team next year. But let's talk about the Rutgers loss a little bit. What do you think, Dave?
Well, like you said, they just ran out of gas. When you play a team on Monday and you got to turn around, that's what the WNIT is. That's what the NCAA tournament is. We see now there's no teams playing on Thursdays and then they're going to have the whole weekend, to get some rest. There's games every other day, and there's games, you're on 2 days rest. So to see this team, it's a good thing because it means, you're in a tournament, you're playing for something. But I said a couple weeks ago, I said, this team needs to show me something for me to believe that they're going to make a run in the tournament. They had lost 4 in a row. They weren't scoring like they were. The hardships of Big East play were getting to them. And I know I said on SOU, I'm not quite sure how this team can rebound from this. Maybe it was just a flash in the pan. And they really just, Bozzella and the girls just washed that all away. And as soon as they got to the tournament, we saw that with American, we saw that with Princeton, and we saw with Rutgers last night. The byproduct is that they ran out of gas. But a whole picture, you have to look at how they were able to recoup, get to this game in the first place. I think it was just amazing.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, like you said, how they just ran out of gas again. But I mean, that place, it was practically a home game for us with the amount of people we had. There was more blue than red.
There was a lot of Seton Hall fans out there.
I mean, we brought 2 buses there for the student section, but like you said, Tabitha Richardson-Smith, a rough first half, and she just came out hot and never looked back at the end. And Dee Simmons coming around, just being the floor general as she has all year. Yeah. Like you say, them 2 will be the driving forces next year. But the game last night, I mean, it was a tight one, all sticking through all the way through. And once Tabitha Richardson-Smith finally started stepping up, making the shots towards the end, the game got closer and closer there, and we were driving.
It's nice to see that we're going to get Dee Simmons and Tabitha Richardson-Smith back because, last year, Masiko, she's gone.
We're not losing a lot.
Brittany Morris, she was gone.
Janae Johnson's really the only senior, and as well as Elaine Swaby, who was, unfortunately hurt her whole career here. But we're not losing a lot. And guys, thank you so much for the recap of the Seton Hall women's team. It's going to be a great season next year, guys. A lot to look forward to, and why not Seton Hall? The mantra will continue. So when we come back, we'll discuss our March Madness picks, our brackets, and give you a preview of what's to come leading up to the Final Four. So join us then. All right, guys, back here on Hall Talk, and as we mentioned before in the show, we're going to discuss our March Madness picks and the games that already happened leading up to the Elite Eight and Final Four. So again, joined by Aaron Ross and David Heim. So, guys, let's take it away. We have some finals to get to right now. We have Arizona defeating San Diego State last night, so the number 1 seeded Wildcats are living up to their gun. They're playing a lot better when the tournament's moved on. And then we also have Wisconsin. A lot of people said this team would not go far, and they've been a struggling team in the Sweet 16 the past couple of years. So let's get your reaction from both those games. Aaron, we'll start with you.
Well, the Arizona game, I mean, I've been a fan of them all year. Aaron Gordon, I think personally he's one of the top freshmen out there. Everyone else, like Andrew Wiggins, they've been preferring him, Jabari Parker. I've been more a fan of Aaron Gordon out there, him and the other guy, Johnson, out there at point guard. Struggled to start last night. Then came out, ended up with 15 points, most of it from free throws. So he got in a groove last night, helped win him there. And Wisconsin, like you said, kind of scrappy, like struggling in the Sweet 16 lately. This year, I mean, I've been thinking they've been getting some decent matchups. They've been upsetting people. They were ranked in the top 4 at one point in the season. So there's a reason they're in this part of the tournament.
I'm a fan of Arizona as well. I think I have them in my Final Four. So, I mean, I have to be a fan of them, don't I? But just how they've been playing, there was a part of the season where I'm very skeptical about them, but the way they've been playing in the tournament, this has been their closest game to date in this tournament, but a very good San Diego State team, and that's going to happen. Yeah. But like Aaron said, Aaron Gordon has played out of his mind in this postseason. So has Nick Johnson. I think this team, if they start getting their pieces going, I don't know if they're going to be able to contest with other teams that are in this tournament like Florida, Michigan State, but if they can get their pieces going, I would not want to play them.
I think if Aaron Gordon and Nick Johnson get going, I think they're going to be a really,
rolling.
really hard team to beat. Absolutely. So let's stick with the next game. Stick with this side of the bracket, guys. Again, Wisconsin defeating Baylor pretty handily. Aaron Rodgers surprised Bo Ryan and the guys after the game, and Bo Ryan just looked shocked. But they deserve it because, again, this is a team that's really rolling right now. I have them in the Elite Eight. But, again, I think this is a team that has to play collectively well together. You can't just rely on one guy. Go ahead, Aaron.
Exactly. Like, they're rolling right now. They're hot. They're finally going. Especially, I think this Aaron Rodgers thing might get a little kick in them, too. It might spark another fire.
Yeah.
They'll go through and move on. I think that's about all.
All right.
I have this team in my Elite Eight as well, so I'm glad to see them move on. They're a team that they can go both ways. They could play really bad one night, and earlier in the tournament they kind of got me nervous there. But I don't know if they just playing really well or just Baylor forgot that they're in the Sweet 16.
Well, Baylor didn't play a good game, but I think, again, when this team plays collectively well, they shoot the ball really well. And if they're shooting a high percentage, and Bo Ryan teams usually always shoot the ball well. So when they do that, I think they're a very successful team and hard to beat. So we'll stick with this side of the bracket, guys. We have the Battle of Kentucky tonight. Louisville taking on John Calipari. It's Rick Pitino against John Calipari. Louisville against Kentucky. The 4 seed against the 8 seed. Still can't believe Louisville's a 4 seed, but I guess it's helped them out pretty well so far. So let's get your picks and your reactions. Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, see, I was actually in Orlando for the first rounds here, witnessed Louisville firsthand. Now, they play well as a team. Rick Pitino obviously speaks for himself here. The Battle of the Bluegrass, well, let's see. Kentucky's always young. Louisville, they got experience now with Russ Smith, contender for MVP of the whole league, NCAA right now.
Sure.
I think Louisville's got them here. It could be a tight game depending on which Kentucky team shows because they've been inconsistent at times, but now they're starting to show strongness, and Louisville, they're just pounding through teams right now.
I just do not think this Louisville team can be stopped.
Yeah.
I really don't. Kentucky, they're young. They're young. They said they have 10 minutes coming into this tournament. They have 10 minutes of NCAA tournament experience on their entire roster, which is shocking. And then they beat Wichita State, but there's been a lot of back and forth about it with whether that team was for real or not, and they're finally playing some good teams. Kentucky is going to have to – they're going to live and die by Julius Randle. That's it.
Sure.
Exactly.
I think Louisville has much more depth. I think they're more balanced defensively. The full court press from Rick Pitino, I think, is going to really – I think the inexperience of Kentucky is going to be unable to figure that out. And if you can get down 5-10 points late against Louisville, it might be
you're done from there.
Yeah, and I think that's the key right there. I think that the full court press of Rick Pitino, the Cardinals just swarm you the whole game, not just a half, not just a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
they swarm
we
you.
know that
team.
firsthand.
Exactly.
We've seen that
Exactly. We've seen that firsthand playing them here at Seton Hall. I'm going to go with Louisville just because, again, I don't think they can be stopped right now. If Russ Smith is on and that press is working to full effect, especially if you have Harrell playing well down low, you have Luke Hancock shooting the ball well. When he gets going, he gets going. He doesn't miss. And I just think this Kentucky team is too young. And I had this matchup. I had this in my bracket. I only fill out one bracket a year. I had this just because I saw Kentucky getting hot. I saw that youth really starting to play together, starting to come together in tournament time, and starting to gel a little bit because they haven't been able to do that all season long. But I think it stops here. I think their inexperience gets them here. I think Rick Pitino knows what to do. John Calipari is a great coach. Don't get me wrong. But I just think they're too young. Yeah, they're too young. All right, so we'll go to the last game on this side of the bracket. It's Tennessee, number 11, Tennessee, who's surprised everybody. They had to play into this game to even get to this point. They had a playing game to start off. They're going to take on the Michigan Wolverines, who were in the title game last year, led by Nick Stauskas, guys. So what do you think?
Well, Tennessee is like the same type of team as Dayton. We'll get to in a little bit.
Exactly.
No one has picked them to do anything, and here they are in the Sweet 16. I just don't. I like Michigan a lot. I think Michigan is too good. Like you said, Stauskas. I think when he gets going, he controls the whole floor. I don't even think this game could be close. I can see Michigan winning this game by 20 points.
David has a blowout. Aaron, what about you?
I mean, Tennessee, I don't know who expected them to get here. I don't know if it's because I'm biased or not. I picked UMass to go over them. Probably
you're from
I'm from the area, but also Michigan, they got experience on their hands. They lost Trey Burke, they lost Hardaway Jr., but they still have experience, and they are a contending team, that's for sure. I think it'll be a close game depending on which Tennessee team comes out, because they can come out and they can come at you.
Yeah.
Like I've seen them a few times. Their warm-ups, it's like a Sprite slam dunk contest. They get going.
I think Tennessee's run is over.
Okay, so will the Cinderella run of Tennessee? Now, a lot of people don't consider them a Cinderella just because they're a known school, but this team had to play into this tournament. And
The 11th seed, that'll get you Cinderella.
absolutely. So, guys, we'll stick to this side of the bracket. We'll pick our Elite 8 games. We won't pick the Final Four because we're going to get to that next week in next week's show. But we have Arizona taking on Wisconsin for a trip to the Final Four. So I have Arizona. I'll make my pick right away, make it quick. Aaron and David, go ahead.
I also have Arizona.
Arizona.
All right, so we have Arizona in that side of the bracket, going to the Final Four with Aaron Gordon and Nick Johnson under head coach Sean Miller. And then we have the winner of Kentucky and Louisville against Tennessee and Michigan. Now, we all have Louisville here against Michigan, no?
Yeah.
And who do we have in the Final Four?
I think Michigan's going to get Louisville this time.
Really?
A rematch of the championship last year. It'll be a hard-fought one. I don't know because Louisville's playing really hot right now, so it's starting to make me second-guess myself. But in mind, I got Michigan over them.
Dave, go ahead.
Louisville.
One word, Louisville. And I'm going to go with Louisville as well. I just think they're too hot, and I think Rick Pitino just knows how to get it done in this time of the year. All right, guys, so we'll go over to your side of the bracket. And Aaron, you can take it away. Go ahead. Or David. Doesn't matter. Go ahead, guys. Take it away.
Well, the first game we have is Florida and UCLA, and just watching this game, Kyle Anderson, he was able to kind of break that defense down a little bit, but UCLA, a lot of turnovers.
Yeah.
That's been a recurring issue for them all year long, and when you play Florida, there's no doubt in my mind Florida's the best team in the country. I think they have been all season long, even when they weren't number one. I think Patrick Young is just a defensive nightmare.
Absolutely.
You're not going to
He's a
drive
man
the
amongst
lane on him, and you don't want him driving through the lane on you. So, but there's so many other components to this Florida team. Wilbekin, when he shoots, like you said, you were talking about Hancock before. When he's on, he's absolutely on fire. I just don't see.
That team is
I think
unstoppable.
UCLA is one of the better teams that the Florida's played all year long.
Yep.
They're a better team than they're gonna face Dayton. I don't just without gloating over them even
they're a
more,
tough team to beat.
They're just a matchup nightmare.
Yeah, I just thought they were just too hard to match up with in terms of UCLA because Kyle Anderson really is that one guy that if he doesn't play well, and he did play well last night, but if he doesn't, you can't really rely on one player to beat Florida. It has to be a collective team effort. Even the teams that Billy Donovan had with Joakim Noah, Corey Brewer, Al Horford, that Ohio State team, they had the best player in the country in Greg Oden, but they couldn't beat them because you cannot rely on one player to beat that Florida team. It has to be collective, and UCLA just didn't have that. Now, can Dayton do that? I don't know, man. That's going to be tough. Florida really has a very easy road to the Final Four. But again, Dayton, though, under that enormous fan base that they have. We saw the pictures of their campus last night.
That was crazy.
Packing the streets. But Dayton, again, they're the Wichita State of last year, and I think they can get it done.
Well, we saw the Dayton game yesterday.
Yeah.
And Stanford didn't even look into that at all.
No.
They lost by 10 points, but you
wouldn't have known.
By 30.
Dayton just handled them.
In at all. Dayton swarming defense. They went with the full court press as well, Rick Pitino's style, and it just seems it's like almost like fate for Dayton to keep moving on.
Every year, it seems like there's a team every year that has that.
That's for sure. It's always a Cinderella.
Our third game that is going to be played today, 10 o'clock, Virginia, Michigan State. What do you guys see in that game?
Aaron, I'll let you go first.
I think Michigan, now that they're back and healthy, they are deserving of a 4 seed just because of how they faded in the end of the year.
Right.
In Virginia, definitely deserving of a 1 seed. They ACC regular season and the tournament winners. Michigan State with Adrian Payne, Dawson, they're unstoppable out there. Those guys big and they can shoot. Yeah. I don't see Virginia really beating them because they're kind of relying about one guy. Tom Izzo, exactly.
That's just it. I don't see Tom Izzo not getting it done today because Virginia, to me, has had a lot of slip-ups this year. I know they really dominated ACC play, but they almost lost to a 16 seed, and that right from the get-go, that was a red flag for me. When I saw them struggling against Coastal Carolina, I said we might see a 16 seed beat a 1 seed for the first time ever because they had a terrible first half. And I think if they don't come out the gate firing, I don't see it happening. So I'm going to pick Michigan State.
Yeah. Michigan State's going to come in hot on them. Yeah. They're going to come in hard. They play hard, up-tempo basketball.
And plus, you mentioned their bigs can shoot, and that can really spread the floor.
Yeah, when you got a 7-footer who's big, get you down low, and then can just pop a 3 whenever he wants.
Yeah. Lights out.
Yeah.
I think we're all in consensus we're going to take Michigan State on this one.
That's for sure.
Last game, Iowa State, Connecticut. I think Iowa State is the biggest posers in this.
Really?
I really do. I'm just not buying it.
Interesting.
First of all, I picked Providence to beat UNC, and then I picked Providence to beat Iowa State. UNC I wanted them to beat Iowa State. It didn't happen. Iowa State's proved me wrong, but I just still think that I don't know. And now going up against UConn with Shabazz and.
Right, but if Shabazz has a bad game, though.
Yeah, whenever he has a bad game, then you never know.
Yeah, so
that's what it is.
I'll make it quick. I'm going to go with Iowa State just because I think they're a great defensive team under Fred Hoiberg. They shoot the ball well, they spread the floor, and DeAndre Kane is just an absolute monster. So I'm going to go with Iowa State because I think someone on that Iowa State team is going to step up and just shut Shabazz Napier down. That guy's really been that Kemba Walker type player for UConn. You know, if he can go far, this team can go far. But I'm going to go with Iowa State.
I think I'm also going to go with Iowa State here. I mean, I think they've been listening to people like you saying how they're not as good as they really are. I think that's how it is. I mean, my bracket's been a little bit busted up.
Yeah,
I had UNC.
That whole side of the bracket for me is
I ended
like
up
my
having
soup
UNC in the
combination.
Final
Ugly.
Four, thinking that they might be able to pull some plugs here because they did beat Michigan State early on. They beat a bunch of good teams, but I think Iowa State's going to get them because I don't think Shabazz can really bring this team all the way to the final just like Kemba did.
Well, he could. I just don't. You know, if he stopped,
Yeah,
that's when I
exactly.
see it fading.
I'm staying on the I don't believe in Iowa
Napier
State thing. I'm
train.
taking Connecticut.
All right.
So
nice, bold.
we're going to have Florida, Dayton, and Michigan State, Connecticut. We'll just go real quick. Who you got in a Florida-Dayton matchup?
Well, I have Florida in my Final Four, so I'm going to go with Florida. But I'm telling you this Dayton team, if they play the way they've been playing this whole tournament, I can see it happening, guys. I can see them
everyone
shocking
bracket.
the world as an 11 seed, I believe they are.
Yeah.
I can see it happening, but I'm going to go with Florida. I think Billy Donovan, again, they collectively play well. If they start out slow, that could be a little bit of a red flag for me, but I think that they're just going to have a great second half. Patrick Young's going to be a beast down low because Dayton hasn't seen a player like Patrick Young yet. So I'm going to go with
I don't know how many
Florida.
people they have. Yeah. I agree with him. Also, Florida. I think Florida's just going to come out. They shoot the lights out. They get too many people. They got Wilbekin, Frazier the second, and then Patrick Young down low. He is just going to manhandle these guys.
I'll take Florida too. Real quick, Michigan State, Iowa.
The winner of that
/
game.
UConn, yeah.
I'm going to go with Michigan State. I have them winning in my win bracket that I fill out every year. I always fill out one. So I just have Tom Izzo getting it done in March, and I think this is just another step. I think the bigs are going to spread the floor. They're going to really utilize those screens. They're a great screening team. I see them spreading the floor, getting a lot of offensive opportunities, and they're a great defensive team as well. That prevails them forward, and I'm going to go with Michigan State.
I agree on that also. Just like we said earlier, how the bigs, they can shoot and all that. I think Michigan State, they're just going to be too overwhelming for Iowa State.
Yeah, I think regardless of this game, it's going to be Michigan State in the Final Four.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so that is our March Madness roundup. We'll have our Final Four picks and our final pick as well next week. So for David Heim, Aaron Ross, I am Ryan Flannery. Thank you for joining us on Hall Talk. We will see you guys next week.